Hello, I'm Cheryl Hawkins. Welcome to Solutions, the show that highlights the incredible work that nonprofits do to overcome challenges in our communities. The nonprofit organization we are highlighting on this edition of Solutions tells us that, as of today, more than 324 at-risk children are in foster care, and another 42 children remain in home care in Montgomery County, Maryland. These children have needs, and to them, their needs can seem to be only a dream when those needs are out of reach. That's where the nonprofit For Montgomery's Kids steps in. They work to create brighter futures for abused and neglected children and young adults in Montgomery County's foster care system, helping them to achieve their dreams, both big and small. Joining me in studio to talk about the services provided by For Montgomery's Kids is the organization's president, Leslie Shedlin. Leslie is an attorney with over 25 years of experience in the areas of child abuse and neglect. Her work includes litigation, advocacy, and training. Leslie, welcome to Solutions.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here, and thank you for the work that you do. I just think it's such a wonderful thing.
It comes from the heart.
And I can tell. So tell me, when did For Montgomery's Kids get started, and what's the core mission?
We started about 12 years ago. We sort of sat down and started talking about, we knew that there were gaps in the system, that there were things that these kids just weren't getting. And when we first started out, we were thinking about how do we attempt to give these youth in foster care some of the things that children who are raised in more traditional households can achieve. Sports lessons, music lessons. We just were thinking simple. And we set up this model, and we are amazed at how what we have done has grown, how the requests have changed, how the social workers have gotten creative, and we have been able to provide some of the most amazing things for kids in this foster care system.
Mm-hmm. And you all decided to not just do it, but to formalize what you're doing. So you started the nonprofit, and you're governed by a board. How many people are on the board?
We
and
have
do
five.
You have any,
I'm sorry.
That's okay. And do you have any special criteria for a person to be a member?
Right now we're 5, and we're bringing 1 person on and 2 younger interns because we'd like to get a little young blood and some young ideas. The criteria, quite frankly, is passion. We want people who really, really care about children. Obviously, we have skill sets that we need to meet, but it's not even necessarily knowledge. It's because we've had people on the board who've had no experience in the child welfare system, but they've been able to learn it from working with those of us who have more experience. But it's a passion, and it's a real desire to get your hands dirty. We are a working board. Every board member digs their heels in and gets things done, and we generally work by consensus.
So what are the age ranges for the young people that you serve?
We serve children from 0 up until 21, and we've started a new program, which we will talk about later, which deals with children who are aging out of foster care. But for example, the only things that we don't pay for, in all honesty, are things that the department should be paying for. But if a child is brought into emergency foster care over the course of a weekend, if there's no money for diapers, we'll pick up the money for the diapers right away so that that child will not be without diapers for the weekend until the department can get in and take care of it. Mm-hmm. We go, as I said, from 0 all the way up until a child ages out of foster care, and now we're helping children who age out of foster care as well.
That is awesome. So how did you get involved with wanting to help children at risk? You're a lawyer.
I'm a lawyer, and I was doing court-appointed child advocacy. And I just realized how much I cared about the kids that I was working with and how I felt I could make a real difference. I transitioned from practicing law, I have 2 children of my own, to doing policy work for both the state and the county. And then again, about 13 years ago, Agnes Leshner, who was then the director of Child and Family Services and who is now on our board, asked me if we could think about getting something like this going. Mm-hmm. And I was like, hey, yeah, let's do it.
Wow, that's awesome. So how do you think your legal background helped you in your position as president?
It's not so much my legal background, although that does come into play some of the time, because we're all jack of all trades on this board. Mm-hmm. But it's really more what I learned about the child welfare system, working with children, about their needs, about the legal requirements. I mean, that obviously does come into play. But it's what I learned about the system and how to deal with it and how to negotiate it, and about the needs that these kids really have and how we could help them.
Mm-hmm. So tell me about the relationship that the organization has with the Montgomery County Child and Family Services. Does foster care come under that?
So the way that we set up our system was that we have a form which all of the social workers have access to. We just felt that dealing directly with the social workers was the way to make sure that the requests that we got were true needs of the children. Not that so we didn't want the kids coming to us and saying, "Hey, I want a Mac," or or some random person. The social workers really know the children that they deal with. So the social workers will come to us and say, I have a youth that I'm dealing with whose birthday is coming up next week and there's no one to celebrate. Do you think you guys could provide a gift card and a cake? And we do it. And we try to fulfill the request within 24 hours when we can. It's not always possible. But we really try to act quickly, and I think the social workers really value the fact that we do act so quickly.
So tell me how a day goes, how this works for you. Do you ever have times where you meet with the social workers, or is it all by phone?
It's generally by email. And obviously things have changed a lot. Yeah, you and I both, right? Things have changed a lot since COVID.
Right.
Before COVID, the social workers, we would actually get whatever it was to the social workers. Social workers would then deliver it to the children. Since COVID, we send more of the stuff directly to the children and youth. But it all happens very quickly, and it often happens via email. A lot of it, fortunately or unfortunately, happens through Amazon. We use Amazon a lot because we can, if a kid needs an Uber card to get for transportation, we can email the Uber card directly to the kids so they can have it within 5 minutes and be where they need to be. And we make lots of trips up to Picard Drive to Child and Family Services to bring gift cards and things to the social workers, because the social workers do like, when they can, to take the things to the youth themselves, because it's so worth it to see the reaction on a child's face when they receive something that they've been really wanting.
Yeah, but you all don't have, or do you have contact with the children yourselves?
Very little. Again, before COVID, we had virtually none. There have been a couple of instances where things have had to happen on a really rapid basis. For example, there was one young woman who was going to the University of Maryland, Montgomery College, and babysitting, and she needed her parking paid for, and it needed to be done right away. So I met her there to pay for her parking.
Wow.
But for the most part, we don't really, because these children and youth are entitled to an anonymity. They don't need us poking into their lives. They have their social workers involved. They have the county, the state. They have too many people involved in their lives. They certainly don't need us.
So let's talk about some of the types of requests you receive and how For Montgomery's Kids has fulfilled some of those needs. You've got stories on your websites on things that you've done. Let's talk about a little bit of them, like equipping a toddler's future. What did that involve?
Well, we've had situations where we've had particularly toddlers in real need, children with all kinds of disadvantages, where we've been able to provide specialized services that the county couldn't pay for, toys, books, and things like that, so that a toddler would have the things that they need to grow and learn, even though they're in foster care. Again, books. We provide books. We pay for camp and after-school programs for these kids. As I said, toys, birthday parties.
You have a story on your website about fulfilling a young girl's dream to drive. I thought that was unique. Tell us about
So there's a young woman who was, again, a disabled young woman. She, and we paid to have a car outfitted so that she would be able to drive the car, which she could not have done without the re-outfitted car.
Now, did that take a lot of discussion among the board?
It takes very little discussion.
Okay.
I have to say, we just want to help these kids.
Right.
And when they send in the requests, when we first started, we were not able to fill all the requests. We could fill them, but we would give $200 or something, and then they would have to look for the money elsewhere. Fortunately, over the course of 12 years, our funding stream has increased, and we are able to really fund almost everything that comes our way.
Wow. That's awesome. So do you work with other nonprofits in trying to help fulfill some of these wishes?
Well, we refer to we refer to Wider Circle and Interfaith Works. The one nonprofit that we work directly with is Empowering the Ages. And as I said, we're going to talk more about our new program, Boost, later on. But we work with Empowering the Ages to provide us with mentors for the older children, to give them assistance with some of the issues that they're facing as they age out of childcare.
So you've been in operation about 12 years.
Right.
How many children have you served, or young people?
Over 2,700.
That's a lot.
Yeah. We started out 35 our first year, and we're up to 2,700.
And so how do you evaluate what you do? Of course, you get the thank yous. You know, you don't see the children all the time, but you're told they're happy, they're smiling.
That's my response was going to be, how do you evaluate a smile?
Right.
How do you evaluate the reaction of a high school kid who's in foster care and is told that she can go to cheerleading camp with her squad because someone's paying for it? How do you evaluate a kid who's just needs a computer or a phone and the social worker walks in and gives it to them? How can you evaluate that? It's joy, and that's what keeps us going.
So how do you, I know you do fundraising to raise some of the funds. You told me you have board members who give. How do you determine each year what's going to be available to serve these needs in terms of a budget? That would seem
we do have a budget every year, which which we adhere to. And it's usually pretty closely based on what we've done in the prior year and what we anticipate needs to be. But really, our goal every year is to pay for everything that comes our way.
Yeah.
We've been lucky enough to be able to do that, and so it's if there's an enormous expense, we may have to go to a donor and ask for an additional amount of money. But for the most part, we really have been able to pay for everything, and we have not had any unanticipated needs.
Yeah. Were there any requests, or do you remember any requests that was kind of may be a challenge to you all, or a stretch to do it, but you decided we're going to do it anyway?
Well, it's not so much as they've been a challenge. I think I'd rather focus, if you may, on some interesting things. For instance, our goal, as I said to you, is to try to do things within 24 hours. But we got a phone call from a youth who was stranded in a bus station. No money, no food. And within an hour, we had an Uber card to her so that she could get home and get some food. We had another similar situation where a foster parent, had to get a kid to an emergency room and didn't have the transportation. And again, within an hour, we had an Uber card to that parent so that they could get the kid to the emergency room. We had a couple of interesting requests. One of which I think stands out to all of us was the request for an emotional support turtle. Again, a young woman was in a group home, and she felt that she needed something, and she wanted an emotional support turtle. And then I think, again, to all of us, one of the most...
Where did you find an emotional support?
Well, we didn't find an emotional. We got her a turtle. I mean, but and the things to the accoutrements. I think the other one that has really struck most of us as being most interesting was there was a young man who wanted to go to the Coast Guard, and he had a tattoo of a rose on his hand, and he wanted to do coding. And for that area of the Coast Guard that he wanted to go into, you couldn't have any tattoos, so we paid to have the tattoo removed.
Wow.
So I think it's as creative as the social workers can be, and we just kind of let them run with it, and we run with it too.
Yeah, you're kind of like, I had said fairy godmothers, but you said you have men, so you're like fairy godparents to these children that you never see, but there's always someone there that's helping.
And every once in a while we get a note or something from one of the kids saying thank you so much, or from a social worker saying, so and so smiled so broadly, why not you? And that's enough to keep us all going.
That is enough. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll be joined by board member Cindy Burgess, who'll tell us about Boost, a new program offering for Montgomery's kids. Stay with us. We'll be right back.
Since the start of the year, the National Children's Registry has received over 7,000 reports of child abuse. These include sexual, physical, emotional, and child neglect. It is time to start protecting our children. If you know something isn't right, make that call. Our 24-hour line is completely confidential. Report child abuse. Call call 211.
Welcome back. I'm Cheryl Hawkins. You're watching Solutions, the show that highlights the work of nonprofit organizations in our area. On this edition, we are highlighting For Montgomery's Kids, a nonprofit organization that provides support and enrichment to at-risk children and young adults in Montgomery County, Maryland. On this segment, I'm joined by For Montgomery's Kids board member, Cindy Burgess, a licensed certified social worker with over 30 years of experience serving children, youth, and families. Welcome to Solutions, Cindy.
Thank you. It's nice to be here.
Great to have you here with Leslie and I. And you have a long career working in social services. Why did you choose this profession? Or did it choose you?
That's really a good question. I think we kind of found each other. My interest was initially in psychology, and I started off, with a psychology major, started taking more courses in the sociology side of things, and had an opportunity to intern at a children's evaluation center. And that's when I really kind of keyed in on working with children and determined that social work would be the way to go.
So, I was just going to ask you about why you chose to deal with at-risk children, because social services is so broad. There's so many areas that you could work in, but something about the children at risk.
Yes, it really did kind of tug at me, and having the opportunity to really work with children in a formative age, having an opportunity to really help them, get grounded and thrive in any way, and help them along the way. I did not start out in child welfare. I did some community organizing once I got out of school, but when an opening became available with the State Department of Social Services, and specifically in Montgomery County, which is where I was raised, then I grabbed it. It was difficult to find the open positions in those years.
Really?
Not so much now, but they were really coveted back in the mid '80s when I was coming along. So once I landed the position in Montgomery County, I never looked back. And I started, right with child welfare as an investigator, went through foster care, managing foster care cases. I studied and approved foster and adoptive homes for children. So I got an opportunity to really work in all facets and really understand the system.
So when we had this opportunity to bring Cindy on the board, you can understand why we jumped at it.
I was just going to say what a benefit you are to the organization, because you have to deal with the social workers. Having been a social worker, you know the inside out of how social workers are thinking about what they do with the children and how they welcome that outside help. That the county can't always provide.
She was a real find.
Yes, very much so. So how long have you been with For Montgomery's Kids?
And I was trying to remember how long. I think it was 2018, maybe late 2018, early 2019. I was going through a number of transitions. I had retired by then from child welfare, and the director of child welfare is one of the founders of For Montgomery's Kids, Leslie spoke of. So she and I ran into each other at a luncheon for retirees, and she said, "Hey, what would you think about joining our group?" And I thought, oh, okay. I wasn't exactly sure what I was signing up for, but it sounded like a good fit, and it has been for me. I've really it's been amazing to kind of be on this side of it now. And the transition that child welfare has taken over these number of years, over the past, even the number of years that I was out. I was retired about 3 years before I met up with Agnes, but a lot has changed. A lot has changed. So I've had to familiarize myself with new policies and procedures and
Right.
things like that. Yeah.
And you also have to keep your certification up and things like that. Do you?
I do. I do have a small private practice, so I do maintain my social work license in order to, continue to see the few people that I have now.
Yeah.
remaining.
So you're going to tell us about Boost, a new program with
Yes.
for Montgomery's kids. Tell us, what is it and why did it get started?
Yeah. Okay. Well, we started Boost this. We're in our second year now, helping the youth that are transitioning out of foster care. I mean, we had talked about providing scholarships to the kids who are graduating high school and going on to college. That was kind of a small way of getting into that. And then it became, we heard there are only, I think, 3 programs across the state that are doing
across
this
the
kind
country.
across the country. I'm
that are
sorry.
doing- I mean,
yes.
there are many UBI, Universal Basic Income programs, but there are not a lot that deal with youth that are aging out of foster care. And as you might imagine, this is a particularly vulnerable population because they are going from being in foster care, having the services of a social worker, and then all of a sudden at 21, that all falls off for them.
And are you telling me there are only 3?
We're not sure exactly how many, but there
but
are only
not
a
that
handful
many.
Yeah.
that deal
It's-
with this precise population.
Right. The ones that
I mean,
are,
there are UBI programs that deal with youth, that deal with homeless youth, that deal with a more broad population.
yeah.
Ours is a very, very limited scope,
Yeah.
and we have a very limited. We have only right now only 9 participants.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Yeah, so I can see how valuable that is. All of a sudden you get to 21 by you're on your own,
yeah.
and you
Yeah.
have no idea. When you get to 31, 40.
Yeah, you're still learning at that age.
Right.
Yes.
Wow. And so Boost.
Yes, so Boost, we thought that would be a great name. We are giving them a boost and a little bit of a bridge as they strive for self-sufficiency. That's ultimately the goal. Most of them are working or in college or taking college courses, and they also have the benefit of housing vouchers, so they're living independently in apartments that are subsidized through county programs. So that helps as well. They're in stable living situations, and they're referred to us through their social workers. There is one unit in particular, the Ready by 21 unit, who is working with the majority of these youth, and we ask them to review, their roles, so to speak, and determine who might best benefit from the program that we're offering. And it is, as Leslie mentioned, it's an unconditional giving program.
Okay.
For 12 months. We provide a $600 stipend, and there really are no strings attached.
Wow.
I do meet with them initially. We talk about kind of ideas of how the stipend would help them, in ways in which they would use the stipend. But beyond that, it's up to them. And most of them will say, I have bills. Obviously, they're still, they are paying rent, utilities. And what I've learned is that this has given them just enough of a cushion where they really can focus more on their goals and not be so worried about how I'm going to pay my electric bill next month.
Now the crucial thing is that Cindy gives them a heads up,
Right.
several months beforehand, just to remind them that this is not a lifelong stipend.
Yeah.
And so they have to start at some point to think about what the next steps are going to be for them. And towards that end, Cindy hooks them up with mentors if they so choose.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah.
Yes.
I was going to ask
Yes.
that. They stay in touch with you, you stay in touch with them to see how they're doing within that year period.
Yes. I do that. I let them know. We meet at the initial point. I let them know that in 6 months I will be back in touch with them and with a check-in, how things are going.
And it's purely self-assessment.
It is. It's self-assessment, exactly.
We will ask them, do you feel your mental health is in a better position? Do you feel you're better? I mean, it's total self-assessment. We don't ask them where they're working. We don't ask, it's not, if they want to volunteer that information, that's totally fine.
Right.
But the idea, again, is that it's unconditional money. And we just want to get some sense of whether it's having an impact on their lives.
Right.
Yes, yes. And we certainly, it didn't take us long to realize, yes, it was having a very positive, even on the small sample that we have.
Yeah.
You know, I was getting a lot of positive feedback in terms of, you know, this has been a real, you know, just a blessing to be able to have this extra money.
I mean, there's one young man who's made a point of telling us that he's really saved the money that he's put it aside, and
Wow.
I mean, that's just a real tribute to this young man.
Exactly, exactly.
So what are some of the issues? You talked a little bit about they have to pay rent and things like that. What are some of the issues, other issues, for these young adults as they transition to live on their own? Are some of them, you were saying, your mental health, are you okay with that? Are you afraid? You know, I don't know. What kind of issues are they dealing with?
That, you know, the mental health piece is an important one to highlight, because many of them, you know, have diagnoses. I mean, they, you know, and we were talking, how could you not? The trauma that they've experienced, you know, and being removed from their families of origin, living with a family they don't know. We're finding more and more now that more kin providers are stepping up so that children are at least living with people that they're related to or closely associated with. But they've gone through some harrowing experiences, and the young man in particular who's been saving his money has really is one of those, and it's the resilience is also just, you know, amazing to behold. What they've been through. They have been open in sharing what their experience was like up to the point that I met them.
Yeah.
So I have a good sense of what they've been dealing with, and I think that the mental health, they tend to downplay it, and they don't realize how it really is impacting, you know, their functioning, their moving forward. They're just, you know, again in that what am I trying to say? That the resilience and the survival mode.
Yeah.
This is what they've learned, and they know that it's like, I count on me, myself, and I. There's no one else that is going to come forward.
But on a more practical, basis, they also need to furnish their apartments.
Yes.
And they need clothes, and they need to pay
That's right.
utilities, and they need to pay cell phone bills and internet connections. And they need to go out. They need to go out to dinner every once in a while, or go to a movie and have some kind of a social life.
Yes,
exactly.
Some of these young people have children, and they need to be able to take care of their young children, and that's a priority for them. I mean, again, you think about it, if you've had such a traumatized life and you bring a child into this world, you want to give that child everything you can.
Yes, so the Boost program is fairly new. You've got a small sampling that you can look at and see that, you know, it's something that they really need.
Really
have
benefited.
you had a chance yet, maybe not, to even look to see what else can we add to this or do that would help boost them on their way?
Yeah, well, we have talked about increasing the monthly stipend. Now there are a couple of other programs that extend longer. We're not really at that point yet, but we know that you know, they certainly, some of them could benefit from staying in the program longer, but you know, practically speaking, we have to consider our budgets and things.
And presently, we don't have. I mean, some of these other programs rely on community partners. We don't have any.
Yes.
The funding for this has come totally from our funds right now. We don't have community partners.
Yes.
But if anyone out there wants to partner with us, we'd be happy to talk to you.
And that's a great way to end that. Thank you, ladies, for being on. I think this is absolutely an amazing service that you are providing to these at-risk young people. So thank you.
And thank
Well,
you
thank
for having
you
us.
for having us.
Yes. I'd like to thank my guests, Leslie Shedlin, President, and Cindy Burgess, Board Member of For Montgomery's Kids, for being my guests on this edition of Solutions. If you'd like more information about For Montgomery's Kids, or you want to know how you can support their efforts, visit their website at formontgomeryskids.org. I'm Cheryl Hawkins. Thanks for watching, and see you next time for more Solutions.